All right, hello everyone. Good evening. Welcome to week 7. And so tonight I'm just going to give a quick overview of what we're going to cover. We're going to have a lot that we're going to cover. Um, First of all, I'm going to do a quick lecture, and the premise for tonight is about a year ago, actually, almost to the date, a year ago, I was in Singapore attending a conference, and I had the opportunity to go and visit a company called Aeon Singapore, and they are a worldwide and international company. In fact, it is actually parent base headquarters in the US. But they have a major operations over in Singapore dealing with AR and VR kind of work. I just want to preface by saying what we're doing in this class is not to that level, but I want to talk about the possibility, all right? Because what we are doing here, because of the constraints of the logistics of creating a virtual VR experience using a immersive tool like the headset and all that, will take a lot more than what we can do in this course. All right, and also you are all fully online. We do have some equipment. We do have a HoloLens at the department acquired some years ago. I have personally an Oculus Rift, and we recently obtained another AR goggle called Meta. But we're having some issues trying to get up and running, and we've been trying to troubleshoot that. So we do have some equipment. But more importantly, in order to develop content for a 3D immersive VR or AR experience would require a lot more programming and other development in tools and software like Unity 3D that we do not cover in this course per se. All right. However, having said that, what you're designing in the design document for OpenSim or Minecraft can easily be adapted for that environment. All right, so that in the future, if that's something that you want to do, your idea, your design document, all that can be massaged for that purpose. All right, so just so that we have that clarified, because I had some questions about, for my final project, I was thinking of doing some AR, and I said, no. We're going to restrict the design development so that you have conceptually the ability to come up with ideas that will be suitable and appropriate and appropriately pedagogically appropriate for a 3D virtual environment. All right. And then the next step is just a simple step in learning the software and the tools for the particular headset that you want to use and all that. Right. Of course, in addition to that, there's another layer that you have to think about when you're dealing with those other high-end tools, where you involve now with how do you use the hand controllers and all that, right? So that's totally for a more advanced course that I hope to develop with Dr. Hoffman maybe in a couple of years, and then we'll have that ability, but it'll probably have to be a face-to-face class. Okay, is that clear? All right, so I'm going to talk about some of those projects. I'll share some YouTube videos of that, so you can see some ideas, some possibilities down the road. Then I've got good news. We were finally able to set up our Minecraft server. And today I want to walk through some of the steps, what you have to do in preparation for that. We still have 2 more weeks before we get into Minecraft. But these 2 weeks, so beginning from today, I'm going to demo and show you what you need to do. And Sarah has created a job aid, which I will post for next week's content. All right. And then you will start to, you have to go and get, purchase your account, download the software, right? And then the instructions on how to connect to our server so that we can all be being in the Minecraft world together, all right? Because typically, people who play Minecraft do single player, all right? They play on their own, and so they don't have to have it hosted on a server. This is not the educational version. This is the Minecraft.net Java version that unfortunately UH Manoa does not have a site-wide Office 365 license. Hence, we don't qualify for Minecraft EDU. Okay, I hope that in the near future we would be able to get around that issue. 2017, Minecraft EDU was not bought out by Microsoft yet, but it is now part of Microsoft, and because of that, they have moved Minecraft EDU to only be available to students or institutions, schools that have Office 365 site-wide licenses. And so we had to come up with an option. I'm so happy now that we actually have a Minecraft space for you guys to work in. You know, it's up and running now. But yeah, but you need to purchase your account, download the account, and it's $27. I'll go through more about that. And I had mentioned at the beginning of the course, because there's no textbook requirement. There sometimes is a requirement in terms of getting access to software. Now, if you have a child or a friend who's a Minecraft enthusiast and doesn't mind you using his or her or their account, then you're welcome to do so. All right, all you need to do is you need to have the account, purchase the account, and then be able to download and install Minecraft. And then all of this is will give you access to our server with the information and directions that we have provided in the job aid. Okay. And then what we'll do is we'll move into OpenSim and do our Shark Tank activity, and then we'll end with the small build activities for tonight. Is that clear? So we do have quite a fair bit to do, so let's get going. Okay. Let me go ahead and share my PowerPoint, also my Google slide. Okay, like I said, the overall theme for this week is challenges and it concerns to teaching in Second Life, and the readings have to talk about those. Covers those topics, including article issues, and then the other part is promoting interactivity in learning. Okay, as I mentioned, the company Eon Reality in Singapore. That's right. So we were very fortunate that they hosted us. So Dr. Pack, Dr. Eichelberger, Dr. Lin, Gracelyn, and myself were at the conference, and I had, through some other personal contacts, were able to line up a series of visits, because I was particularly interested in what the colleges and schools are doing with VR and AR in Singapore, and they're doing quite a fair bit actually. And this company, Eon Reality, is quite active in pursuing and working with a lot of the institutions of higher learning, as well as corporations who are looking at using AR and VR in their day-to-day operations, in their training as well. Okay, so this one is a slide that talks about the different kind of products. As I mentioned earlier, is dependent on the tool and the product, the AR and VR tool that you're using, right? So starting from the top left here, ZVR iBench mobile is really pretty interesting. It's basically, like you see in the screen there, a screen that with the goggles or the glasses that you wear, and with a pen, like a stylus that you use, you can see like the 3D virtual objects floating on top of the screen, and you can use the stylus to manipulate. So you can actually essentially, in the example that they were showing there, you can actually disassemble or assemble a tool or an engine in front of you, right? The example that I saw when I was there was pretty amazing. They were using it with a dental school in Singapore, at the National University of Singapore, and it was a simulation on how to administer, the anesthesia. Sorry, what do you call that now? To numb your teeth, using the stylus. So that was pretty interesting, because you need to know exactly where to inject that, to get to effectively numb your face or your before they do any extraction or any operation on that. So the next one to the right of that, the iCube mobile, is one that is really popular, and it's kind of outdated, because what it is essentially you have like a box, right? A box with 3 walls and sometimes the ceiling as well, where you are, as the participant, you are totally immersed in the box environment, right? So you have to create essentially projections on. So it's a series of like slide projectors at different angles that project to immerse you in a 3D environment in a box, all right? It's called the iCube. Now, of course, we have mobile devices that we have seen that will allow you to mimic a 3D experience as well. And the one that are now commercially available, HTC Vive and Oculus Rift with the controllers, right? They're really very affordable now. I mean, I bought my Oculus Rift for $399 over Thanksgiving last year from Best Buy when they had a sale. And HTC Vive, I think it's going for like $499 or $599, currently. Hologram was something, again, I think is something that's a little more old-fashioned, I would say, right? Where you, again, just with the iBench, you can actually have an object kind of floating in the middle, and this is all due to different kind of projections that they use. Eye catcher I did see, but from the image I see here, it's pretty much like the iCube, but instead of a box, it seems like it's more on a curved screen that is surrounding the participants. Yeah. Google Tango was something that wasn't demonstrated to us, so I'm not familiar with that. But Microsoft HoloLens, I am, because we do have a HoloLens. All right. And the HoloLens is an augmented reality. So unlike the others that you see, which is basically just virtual reality, augmented reality allows you to superimpose digital 3D objects onto the actual real world space. All right. So it's fascinating. So you can actually see, in this case, they were looking at taking apart like a jet engine, but it's really superimposed on top of a table in a classroom or in any environment that you have. Okay. So the iCube, the example we saw, I believe had to do with, oh yeah, that was the one that had to do with a safety simulation. And the iCube, actually, we do have one here at UH Manoa at the Lava Lab. And then the interesting about the iCube is you can all be watching the same from this perspective if you're all wearing the glasses. All right. And the only difference is there's one pair of glasses that would have like the main control. All right. So the one who's wearing the main glasses will then be directing the perspective that you'll be seeing for all the rest that they're wearing the regular kind of glasses. All right. So that's pretty interesting. At the Lava Lab here in Singapore, they have a project that was done by very impressive by a master's student on trying to recreate a archaeological site dig. And so you can imagine, right? So it will show the as if you are in the archaeological dig, and then using the controller, you can manipulate artifacts that you find within the 3D virtual space. Okay, and that's very fascinating. And so, in fact, Dr. Jason Lee was showing us too at UH Manoa here at the Lava Lab. They also have like a Star Trek kind of simulation that you can see. You can actually move into the whole Star Trek spaceship. What's it called now? I don't remember the name of it. But it's fascinating. So you can imagine that the range of experiences, educational or tourism or any kind of learning experiences that you can create using this iCube experience. In fact, I'm going to pause here and show you. I'm going to stop because I need to make sure when I share next, I'm going to share the YouTube, and I want to share the audio with you so you can actually hear the YouTube video that. Okay, so give me one sec. Okay, let's try this. And this was the example of the corporate training. And this was done at the Singapore Airport Terminal Services, which is pretty fascinating. So they use like the HTC Vive, I believe that's HTC Vive, to do their training, for those who give directions to the aircraft as you're going into the aero bridge, right? And they use those I guess sticks to direct the aircraft. So they use that for the training. They also use a augmented reality. It looks like a HoloLens where the person who's wearing it can see, when they're moving cargo and all. That so you can't really tell what cargo it is unless you actually scan for it, right? And so what they did was they put like a huge QR code on the side of those containers, and the AR glasses can read the QR code and be able to give you indirect information about where the cargo is supposed to go to which plane and so on and so forth. Really fascinating example. So hopefully you can see this.
Yes.
Okay.
SATS, Asia's leading provider of gateway services and food solutions, redefining the aviation landscape with our passion and innovation.
Okay.
In my opinion, the iCube is a lot more interactive, it's a lot more fun. Like you can actually go in when you're surrounded by those 4 screens, you can actually interact with the objects, like the models. Like you can actually see the scale, the depth of the models, and you can also, like when you're doing with the more technical models, you can actually really see how the parts are put together. For me, Eon iBench is more compact, it's more personal. And through iBench, I also managed to use Eon Creator. I managed to use the assets from the Eon Experience Library to build some of the things in the iBench. As compared to reading from a traditional book, I find that the iCube and the iBench are a lot more interactive, a lot more impactful, and a lot more fun, as you actually get to interact with the objects in the scene.
Okay, all right. Did you guys get that? And so in that example, they actually use 3 different tools. They use the iCube, they use the iBench, where you actually use a stylus and you can move things around. And then they also use the mobile version on like an iPad or personal device version. Okay. Okay, let's see what else I want to talk about here. I have a lot of slides here, but I don't want to belabor every single one. I'm going to talk about some examples that stuck out to me. Yeah, HML display. This is really interesting. Interactive mirror. They actually had one too, and I've actually tried. I don't know if how many of you have tried. In Japan, they have had this going. In Japan and Korea, I've seen it at shopping centers where you see an image of yourself in the mirror, and you can actually try on virtual clothing, accessories, and all that. And so this was an example they also use for that. There are a lot of fascinating experience. Now, this was a really interesting one. So it's like the virtual mirror, but in this case, it's basically, from what I remember seeing, this is really interesting. They were trying out with children with special needs to help them learn about real life skills. So in Singapore, they have a mass rapid subway system called the MRT. And so in this simulation, um, uh, as that will integrate with the bus as well. So in this simulation, they actually had the students, go up to the ticket machine, purchase a ticket, go up and down the escalator to the top, I guess, to the platform where they wait for the MRT, and then they need to know which direction to go, right? Because if you go north south in one direction, in east west the other direction, so these kids need to be taught how to do so. And so this is pretty interactive, and it's all gesture based, right? Gesture based, using the hands in order to manipulate what's on the screen. So it's fascinating. They showed that by going through this kind of simulation is in a safe environment, before they put the kids out in the real world environment, having practiced that. The other example they showed us also working with this school, Meta School, which is a school for students with disabilities. Um, they showed a simulation where it's basically a grocery store or a supermarket, and kids will go down shopping and they can pick up items, grocery, put into their in their shopping cart or their basket, and then when they go check out, it will ring out the total. They have to then get up from their virtual wallet the amount to pay, and then make sure they get the actual change back. So it's really interesting, different learning tools that they showed us. This one you saw of the aerospace modules. This is the one of the dentistry. So administration of the injection using the iBench with the stylus. I'm like, I much rather they do that in this simulation than practice on a real person. We saw this simulation as well, and this was using I believe it was HTC Vive, and so in this case they were looking at an environment like in the Middle East, and has to do with the refineries where the employees have to be trained on how to manipulate the different pipes and machinery that they have. And so using the HTC Vive controller, they'll be trained to go through this procedural training. All right, so step one, do this, turn this knob, turn that knob, press this button, and so on and so forth. So that way they can train in a safe environment and not end up blowing any gas pipes. This was one that I really particularly enjoyed, and this was in an iCube, and the idea was recreating the inside of a private jet, and this was used for them to design the interior of a private jet. Like in this case, this was used by Bombardier Aerospace. So instead of having to do mock-ups, they actually have a 3D virtual mock-up of the inside of a private jet, and where you can pick and move the seats around different configurations to see what might be helpful. And this is great because you are then in a 3D environment, so you can see now if you place a humongous chair on this side, how much it would narrow down your pathway for someone to walk through, all right, and so on and so forth. So it's really an interesting one. I should look for that particular YouTube, because all I have now is these screen captures of that. Let me see if there's any comments. Yeah, I will send you guys the. Oh, thank you, Casey. I will send. Actually, Eon has a whole page of all their YouTube links. All right. You want that jet? Yes, I would love to have that jet experience too. That's on my. And you guys saw the Singapore Airport Terminal Services use of the augmented reality. Okay, all right. So that's what I want to share, was what we had experienced last year with these different companies, and it's fascinating. Actually, I didn't have a slice of this, but we went to the National University of Singapore, and they have another lab there that was working on again using HTC Vive. They had a 3D model of a human body, all right, and it's so freaky when you put on that, and you can manipulate, so you can essentially move the lungs out, move the heart out, and then when you peer into the cavity of the body and look up, you can see the interior of the cavity of the body and all that. So it's really fascinating. I think that's the advantage of a 3D environment like that, where you can, if you need students to learn, especially that you're talking about surgeons or medical doctors to be, right, and they have to be able to see the heart in relation to the lung in space, right? That's really a powerful learning tool for them to use a 3D virtual reality like this tool. all right, because you can't see it on a 2D page, you know, no matter how they try and do. And I remember those days where we did do you guys remember where you superimpose things? You know, you can actually have those plastic film that you superimpose the layers of the, you know, the skin and then the bones and all that. Now you can do this not only in a on the screen, but also in a 3D environment. Okay, and this was by L, I believe. Was it L or Ruti? Who was this?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay, why don't you talk about this? Oh, it's okay. So this is the one you want me to play, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see if this is gonna work.
You are their creator. You giveth them life and spirit. Unleash them upon the world, and do unto them whatever you want. You giveth them clothes, and you may taketh them away. Maketh them rich, poor, kleptos, pyros, tacky, dapper, rude, and randy. Let there be love. Let there be life. Let there be The Sims 3. Rated T for teen.
Cool. Thank you. So I actually, one of my friends is really addicted to Sims, and obviously Sims is a game. There's like no educational purpose to it, and I don't think there is. But I think it's very similar to OpenSim and the Second Life in a way, just because you know, you can do whatever you want, right? And then it's I guess I kind of ranted on how Sims is so simple in a way, the way you create and animate things and edit things and stuff. Whereas in OpenSim and Second Life, it's really hard and a little bit not as, I guess, user friendly. So, I mean, I wish it was a little bit more easier to play around with, because I think I mean, it's better as an educational tool. But yeah, I was just talking about that, and then I think I talked about how no cards. I wish in a way, I wish there was like formatting tools, because there's bolding, italicizing, and underlining, and you know, education. And I wish there was that type of thing. And did I say it in this one? I think I might have said it in something else, but or the next blog. But I've never. I don't know if you've ever played this kind of game before, but there are games that have a storyline. So there's certain points in the game where it kind of just pauses you and you can't do anything, and it gives you a dialogue where you talk back and forth with a character. And this is something that, you know, in World of Warcraft you do to start quests and stuff. So I'll give you some instructions. And in a way, I wish that was a possibility in OpenSim and Second Life, because I feel like if you're doing like a scavenger hunt or something content related and you want them to follow instructions, it's a little bit more straightforward.
Yeah. So that's a good point, and I wanted you to talk about that, because I want you to have a clear distinction between a video game, versus a 3D virtual environment as OpenSim and Second Life. Yeah, and so they are in a video game. Like Sims and all that, there is, like you say, a storyline, and of course, you can make decision points and all that, which is something that doesn't automatically happen in OpenSim or Second Life, because it's not a video game per se. However, you can program it such. You can have, you know, NPCs, non-player characters and all that would automatically give instructions and all that embedded within your simulation, and that's possible. But the game itself is not inherently doesn't have a built-in game mechanics within the environment. All right. Whereas when we move to Minecraft, all right, those of you who have played Minecraft, you see there's a built-in, more of a built-in game mechanic, gameplay within the environment that lends itself more easily into creating that. All right. And so really, there's a distinction between the two, where while we still think about it as 3D virtual worlds per se, right? But in a video game, there's definitely more control environment versus an open environment. The nice thing when you go into Minecraft, you'll see that we'll play in, well, again, I use the word play, we'll experience it in different game modes, right? In the survival mode, which is really more game, right? Versus the creative mode where it's more like Second Life or OpenSim. If you could see the video of me, you see me using the quotation marks with my fingers in doing the air gesture for quotation marks. In a game mode, survival versus the creative mode. Okay, so I'm glad you brought that up, because it's something that will come up when we move into the Minecraft environment. Okay, thank you for sharing that. Very good. Okay,